Three things about this week. We are at the end of something that gets punctuated in a major way on Friday. We are also in a moment of great transition into a whole new chapter. It will not start on Monday, but Monday brings us into a whole new era. Yet again, 2025 is a banner year. It is filled to the brim with, wow, never been here before, unprecedented times. I'm sorry to tell you, there's more unprecedented times around the corner. Think three, Sunday's going to bring about some really gorgeous moments of connection that we need to focus on. Hello and welcome. This is the Astrology of the Week Ahead podcast. I'm your host, your astro bestie, Chani Nicholas. And in this episode, we are talking about the week of June 30th. Okay, y'all, nothing happens until Friday. I mean, you know, life happens and all the things from last week are still happening, unfolding, doing their things. I hope that you began some really beautiful little situations last week. I hope you worked with the astrology of the 24th and the 25th, like we talked about, right? You did, right? Yes. Okay, good. Because there were some gorgeous new beginnings that occurred. So I'm hoping that you're using this week to continue taking action to make those dreams manifest. And then I will tell you that not until Friday, like everything starts to happen. So, you know, I'm not saying the week won't be eventful, but Friday things really get set off. And that's because Venus, the planet of cohesion and social order and peace and like hanging out and chilling out and being with our besties and eating great snacks, makes a conjunction with Uranus, planet of upheaval and unsettling situations. And Venus and Uranus together really do spell out some sort of social undoing or social unrest or social upheaval or something where all the people gather together to say, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. No, I'm going to protest that. So it does feel like big protesting energy on Friday. I don't know I'm in the past. I don't know what's happening on Friday, the 4th of July. What could happen on Friday, the 4th of July? I don't know, but it's weird to have this combination happen in this year of 2025 that feels so kind of combustible or so a moment of, again, social unrest happening on July 4th. I wonder if anything else is going to be happening on July 4th. Anywho, Uranus moving in to Gemini, which is what will happen on the 7th, on Monday, is a big deal for the world. It's a big deal also for this country, the United States. I'm sorry to talk about the United States so much. I really wish I didn't have to. I really wish it was a boring country where nothing really happened. I really wish it was just a place of peace and lollygagging. But here we are. It's 2025, and that's not what this is. Uranus moving back into Gemini is a big deal for the United States. It signals a 7-year period of unrest and of great change and of choosing what side we want to be on. So here we are. Okay, we're not there yet, but like Uranus is moving into Gemini on Monday. So because Uranus, a planet that takes 7 years to move through a sign, is at the very last degree, last moments of the degree, last minutes of the degree of Taurus, and then Venus comes to be like, hey, what's going on at that very last degree? And because Uranus is moving into Gemini, which is so significant for the United States, it just feels like we might be hogging the limelight yet again. Again, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe everything will be super chill on the 4th of July here as this astrology takes place. But if it isn't, you can be like, wow, the astrology is really astrology-ing. For you personally, this is a moment to take stock of what you've done over the past 7 years that has changed your life, that has gotten you to a place of greater freedom, that has gotten you to a place of greater autonomy, that has helped you to break up with old systems, outdated ways of being in the part of your chart that contains Taurus. Very important for you to understand the part of your chart that contains Taurus and what that house means, what it represents, what area of your life it is talking about. I mean, important. You don't have to. There's other important things to do, but it's really amazing to use the astrology as a reflective tool. So it's not like predicting. You're not trying to like, put your ideas onto the future. You really get to look back at the last 7 years and say, wow, that really did change. Like when I look at what happened with me or what happened with my family members or what happened with my friends, I can be like, yes, over the last 7 years, you really did that. Like you really fuck shit up in this area of life, because that's also what Uranus is really good at. It's really good at innovations. It's really good at doing things differently. It's really good at getting loud. And it's really good at getting free or helping us to get free. So it's all about where Taurus is in your chart. You don't have to have a planet there. If you do, it's been extra loud. But, Taurus risings will know what I'm talking about. Taurus sun, Taurus moon, Taurus Venus, Taurus Mercury. All of you will know what I'm talking about. But you don't have to have anything in Taurus for this to have deeply impacted you, because a planet that takes so long to move through a sign is going to make its mark in that area of your life. And then we get to know, like, okay, now it's moving into Gemini as of Monday. What does that mean for me personally? Where is Gemini in your chart? But for all of us in the world at large, it looks like Friday, July 4th will be kind of noisy. Maybe it'll just be like spectacular fireworks. I don't know. And then Venus moves into Gemini, which on a personal level is really like cute for social engagement. And Venus then will directly move on to sextiling Saturn and Neptune, which again is really lovely for the weekend. It's really great for connections. It's really great for parties. It's really great for gathering with people that we love. It's really great for thinking about how we want to join forces to make sure the world is, going to turn out in a way that's beneficial for all of us. It's really good for seeking out people that want to have the same conversations as you or are interested in the same things as you. And again, it's just good for having fun, for making connections. The only other thing that happens this week is that Neptune stations retrograde. Not a major deal. The fact that Neptune will be retrograde, it's not. Neptune's retrograde like half the year. So it's not a big deal that Neptune will be retrograde. I don't care what anybody says on the internet. It's not a big deal. But the day that it stations retrograde, or the week that it's stationing retrograde, it does pull focus. And so because Neptune is a planet of like delusions and game show hosts or reality show stars, or somebody that's very deceptive, or people that are really good at smoke and mirrors, and because it's in the sign of militarism and aggression and individualism, we want to see like, what's up with that in a collective level? Like what's in the ethers? Are we being sold some sort of like fake image of like who's in charge and who's the like Aries hero of it all? And like, what's the, image that we're being sold or it's trying to be shoved down our throats? That kind of vibe. That's what I like look out for when I see, Neptune stationing retrograde. The big deal about it, if there is going to be one about Neptune being retrograde, is that it has newly entered Aries, right? It's only been there since March. And so now that it's retrograding, it's going to move back into Pisces in a couple months. So once it crosses the threshold back into Pisces, that's a big deal, because we're going to go back to something that we know. Right now we're in like new territory. Not sure about this place. Can I, return to sender? But we're also reviewing the things that we've done in the part of our chart that contains Aries, because this is a very new signature for that part of our life. Meaning, what is the dream we've been focusing on? What is the thing that we've wanted to be a channel for, and how have we been making that a reality or trying to? And now that we get to like review some of that, we get to be like, okay, is that the dream that I really want to like center? Do I want to feature that? Is that the good fantasy to go along with? But I do think that on a collective level, because Neptune is really good at projecting image and Aries is all about the hero, the heroine, the one, main character energy. We just want to see like what images are going to be floating around that look like, feel like, sound like, smell like that kind of situation. Okay, y'all, that's it. Friday, July 4th seems to spark something, seems to have some sort of unease, unrest, unpredictableness, out of the blueness, something that's also like, let's innovate this. Let's gather and demand for some kind of freedom. Uranus is very focused on freedom, and Venus is very focused on relationships. So when we have the planet of connection and relationships meeting the planet of like freedom and upheaval, then we know like there's something is afoot. Something is afoot. And because they're at this last degree of Taurus, I also think something about the economy, something about like land, how like material resources are working is significant around now. Okay, look, let's answer a question from the audience, shall we? This week's question is all about being born on a cusp. Now, cusp is not a word in my astrological dictionary. I mean, it is, but it's not in the way that the general public thinks about it. Like, yes, there are planets when they're at the very end of a sign. They're on the cusp of another sign. But to me, and definitely there are astrologers that will challenge me on this, and feel free to. To me, a planet is either in one sign or the next one. There isn't a gray zone. There isn't a blurring of the two signs for me. Because every single degree in the zodiac is important. Every 30 degrees of a sign means something. It's ruled by specific planets. It has specific meanings. There are different ways of looking at each degree of the zodiac. And if you're in one sign, you're in that sign until the very last moment of that sign. And then if you're in the next sign, you're in the very first moment of that sign. To me, this is the deal. You can talk about yourself as a cusp all day long. Don't drag me into it, but feel free. Use the astrology as you see fit. Most of the time, people talk about being on the cusp of like Gemini and Cancer. And they're talking about their sun sign, right? They're talking about the sun being on the cusp. Now, to me, it's really important, especially if you think about solstices and equinoxes, because the moment the sun moves into another sign, it's at 0 degrees of what we call a solstice or an equinox, which is the moment that the seasons change. So that feels like an important demarcation. However, let's say you're in between the signs of Scorpio and Sag. It's not the turning of a season, but if your sun is at 29 degrees of Scorpio, it's very likely that Mercury and maybe even Venus are in Libra or in Sagittarius, because planets, these two planets, Mercury and Venus, travel really close to the sun. So people that consider themselves cuspy or on the cusp or kind of like of two signs, they often have something significant in the sign that their sun is not in, but is almost in. And so having a bunch of planets in the next sign over, either behind you or in front of you, will give you that feeling of being a cusp, of what we've come to understand as quote unquote a cusp. So my invitation to you is think of your chart however you want to. Know that I do not. Know that I am a kind of purist, as if you will, that the sign that we're in is so important because the degree that that planet is in that sign is so important. But consider, do you have a bunch of planets or even one or two planets in the sign that is the next one over from where your sun is? If that's what you're talking about when you're talking about cusps. Anyways, I hope that helps, and let me know what other further questions you might have. Okay, y'all, come back next week because we'll be talking about guess who going where? Yes, Uranus going in to Gemini. And just to make it more of like a peak kind of week next week, we've also got a full moon in Capricorn. So I'll see you back here for more of that then. Bye for now.